Hi everybody, I'm Ivanecky, and I'm going to kind of talk today about how to get a job in product management. I know most of us here are developers or designers or IoT specialists, but I'm going to focus solely on product management, and maybe you can kind of relate that to your industry and getting that next job. So this is me here. If you want to connect with me after, there's my email, nick@koder.com, or my Twitter handle, so Ivan Tron, and that's a 0. But I'll show this at the end as well. But key thing I want to focus on today is really about what is product management and how to get that job. So product management is essentially 3 different streams. Essentially, it's the customer, it's the business, and it's the technology. And what PMs do is we focus in the center. We have to interface between the customer and figure out what requirements need to be built. We need to understand the technology and the architecture side, because if we don't understand what the developers or the team is going to build out, that's a problem. And the PM needs to understand the architecture. And we also need to understand the business side. What is the strategy and long-term strategy in terms of building out this product? So very important. Product management is in the center, and again, it's becoming much more relevant here in Silicon Valley, New York, and other big tech hubs. So it's definitely a growing and very niche, actually, skill to have. So more niche than software developers. Everybody's looking for software. Product management, not so much. So what skills you kind of need, and this is something I've already learned at Coder, is number 1, you really need to understand the architecture. If I'm going to be, for example, building out the next bot platform, I really need to understand NLP and how that works, right? I also need to understand how chatbots already work in existing competitors and see how we can do things differently. So understanding the architecture is key. In terms of product design, that's kind of like the UX flow of, let's say, competitors, but also understanding how someone's going to use it from a user point of view. That's very important and crucial. Another thing, making sure the customer is going to actually use the product and need it. So really understand what the user needs and will kind of use on the day-to-day. So it needs to be functioning, so that's key. And then in terms of analytics and business needs, you need to be very analytical in your thinking, because you will be measuring certain metrics. So when you are, let's say, launching out, let's say, for example, just a simple iOS app, you need to be able to keep track of the different, let's say, metrics like daily active users, monthly active users, etc. So understanding that is very crucial and important. And then one thing I also learned is managing people. So developers, they want to focus on developing, building products, but depending on the amount of, let's say, resources you have at the company, they may actually be, busy on one project versus another, or they might need more time on something. As a PM, you need to understand how to manage expectations with your team and what can be done to meet those deadlines. Because again, sometimes you can actually get a developer burnout, and then what happens? He or she may leave the company, or he or she may just do less work. So you have to be very careful. There's a balancing act that PMs need to play. So some skills that you need as a PM. In terms of paths to a PM, you don't necessarily need to study to be a PM at school. There is no essentially a degree to it, but ways to get there. One way is actually if you're a developer, because you're going to understand that architecture and the technology side, which is key. Another way is if you're coming from a business background. So if you're into sales and stuff, that's good because you really understand the customer needs. So that way you can, take those requirements and you can help kind of be a product manager, kind of learn the other skills as you grow in that role. And lastly, a designer. So being more UX focused and the UI can actually help, build that product. You can sketch simple mock-ups and prototypes and basically UI work. So very important. So these are some paths to get to product management. Now, in terms of how to get hired, I'm going to kind of explain my story and what really works. And this might also work for you if you're wanting to work as a developer and whatnot. So the key thing is value. I read an interesting article, I think 2 years ago, and it was saying how you need to be able to provide value to the company in order for them to take you seriously. What that means is that you don't necessarily need to give them a resume or cover letter like you did today with me. What you need to do is instead come to me and tell me, this is something I found on your website and I built a little solution for you. Can you take a look at it? And because you built something of unique value to my company, I'm going to treat you very importantly, because right now you actually helped me out and solve the problem before I even talked to you, and that's crucial. So being able to provide value is key, and that's how I was actually able to get interviews at Apple, LinkedIn, Google, and all these other companies. being in Canada before and now in the US. So that's how you kind of have to do it. You have to provide value to them. Everybody submits resumes. How do you change and differentiate yourself? So I'm going to kind of go step by step about the process now. These are actual emails of recruiters and links and whatnot. So like in the beginning, you're going to have to kind of, source your, companies that you're interested in working in. And one of the best ways, of course, is to just put it all in an Excel and figure out which companies you want to work at, get all their info. And I really recommend this link down here called rocketreach.co. What this does is you take the LinkedIn URL and it's automatically going to basically scrape that LinkedIn and get the correct email address. This is fantastic, and then you can kind of send beautiful emails with these projects to these companies, and again, they'll probably respond. So I recommend that service. In terms of the value I created though, so these are articles that I created on Medium. You can check them out after. But essentially, I built out product specs or features to improve their existing products. So for LinkedIn, I essentially made a product spec to kind of create that next killer feature to get those 300 million users active. And I'll show you in the next slide what that is. But essentially building little features, showing UI diagrams, showing how I would launch it, showing kind of like the timeline to completion and getting it to the market. That's kind of what got them interested and excited. So these were some of the projects I did. In terms of the LinkedIn one, so for the LinkedIn killer feature, what I actually recommended to them, and these were some mock-ups I created, was actually trying to take Slack and integrate Slack into their groups feature within LinkedIn. Because groups, nobody really uses groups, but being able to have some type of Slack group interface, real-time chat, that would actually bring back a lot of people, those 300 million users, and they would use LinkedIn a lot more. So that was crucial, but then also showing, like user flow, how a user would use it from start to finish, right? And there's more in this link, of course, but that's key. Creating something of value and sending it off to the recruiter or the PM, looking to hire people. And again, of course, rejections are normal. You're going to hear that a lot, especially here in the Bay Area. It's normal that people don't care about you, or recruiters are just too busy to, say a response back. So that's normal, but you got to keep going regardless until you hit it and you find that one company. Another way though to do it, and if you keep getting a lot of rejections, is projects. So if you're not good at something, start doing projects. So these were things I did to kind of familiarize myself with iOS development. I learned iOS Swift, and I built 3 applications and one WatchOS for the Apple Watch, just to get myself acquainted with the architecture, and that way I know how to talk with developers when I do get that role as a PM. That's crucial. Another thing you can do is a blog, and a lot of people recommend a blog. So what I decided to do is create a repo in GitHub called Open Product Management, and all the resources that I read about product management, all the groups to join, all the meetups, recommendations on how to get hired and whatnot, I put it all in a repo. So essentially, you can kind of go on that repo right now if you want. It's Open Product Management, but it has close to almost 800 people looking at it. So some technical devs maybe, or some people just interested in product management. You have essentially a library of information. But you see, kind of like creating a blog and creating something of unique value. This was also something I did based off of that repo, where I created a blog on open product management, and any product managers, they just send me articles I post. But again, it's creating some following, right? So again, it's all about building products essentially. That's kind of like the main bottom line, and creating value. And another thing that I would also recommend, and again, if you are having, let's say, a hard time trying to find something, is have a side hustle. So when I was searching for my product management role before getting hired at Koder, I decided to do a side hustle and actually teach development courses on Udemy. So now I have close to 10,000 students, over 400 reviews, and essentially teaching about chatbots, Google Home development, Amazon Alexa, and teaching about these NLP type skills, right? So, and again, all these are essentially money makers, and they actually bring a decent amount of money per month. But again, having that side hustle and even building products is key. And that's a good skill to have if you are trying to be a product manager. You have to be able to ship something, and again, ship something that is of unique value. So in my case, it was shipping, tech tutorials, and again, it was a need that needed to be solved, especially in NLP type classes, and it worked out. So that's a very important skill to have. And then of course, have drive to get things done. Don't be lazy. This is all common sense, but a lot of people don't put it into practice. So have that drive, get things done, and keep learning, doing projects, and keep moving on. So then and in terms of what I'm building at Koder right now, and I kind of explained it to some candidates here, essentially a bounty marketplace for top developers. So, like I said, because we have a lot of clients that like to join us and we don't have enough resources right now currently at the company in Irvine, we're building out a marketplace so that all the clients can join that, as well as any external developers join into the product, and then that way, there's going to be some interaction, and bounties will essentially be paid. Developers will get paid based on the work that they do. So that's coming up. This is kind of how like the interface will look like if you sign in as like a developer. So you kind of showcase your skills, your like SQL if you're good at it, or Swift or JavaScript, stuff like that. Again, it's more enterprise and startup companies related, so the bounties will be posted by these type of customers. We're going to use an AI algorithm to match the bounties with the developers to kind of alleviate some of that pain there. Not like Upwork. Upwork is a bit of a messy solution right now, and we're trying to even incorporate developers, let's say, winning cash or cryptocurrency on a few, for example, challenges within the product. So there's a few things we like to get done. And again, some more of the UI work right here. And in terms of the team, so this is all of us here in Irvine. We have 20 plus employees, close to 500 plus developers ready to go on the marketplace, and almost like 1,000 plus bounties ready during the private beta. So anybody that signed up today in that beta, you'll be tagged along in that as a developer. And then once we go live with the beta and the live version, you'll probably get emails from us. And then we were founded last year. We're built for enterprise and startups, and the good part is we've bootstrapped most of our way. We have some seed funding, but we bootstrapped most of our way, and we're already profitable, so that's key. So that's our company, and if you have any questions or comments, you can let me know, or send me an email, or ask away now. So that's it.
So how are you guys different from Gigster? Because Gigster's killing it, right?
So Gigster's doing really well right now. They raised another fund, but what they're going to be doing right now is focusing on the enterprise.
Yeah.
So they figured out their niche, which is enterprise. They're going to stick with it.
Yeah.
I know we mentioned enterprise on the slide. We're still focusing on startups.
Yeah.
So anything in the seed stage or Series A, companies that want to get things developed, they're going to come through us.
Awesome. So
that's one differentiator. Another one right now that we're focusing on is this marketplace. They have more of a they have a marketplace right now, but it's not what's the right word? They're trying to bring in a lot, like, again, and as you scale, that's like one of the problems with the marketplace is the quality goes down. We've been kind of researching them, and some of their clients again are not too happy, and some of them even come to us. But the thing is, we need to also watch out when we do scale up.
Yeah.
We do build out our marketplace, that the quality still needs to be there.
Yeah.
We need to have good algorithms to vet that, and matchmaking is good, and making sure customers are happy. Because again, in this type of industry with freelance or freelancing in general, it's very like touchy, and if you can't deliver a couple things 1 or 2 sprints in, you're basically gone, and you lose your reputation kind of. So it's like we have to do a lot of fine tuning to get to like that level of where we have good quality. Gigster has good quality, they have the funding, but there's definitely a lot of room for other competition and other companies to be in this field, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.